Rockhopper here, and I am on the beautiful Oregon coast at Cape Arago, which is kind of down in the more southern portion of the Oregon coastline. And I'm going to show you some pictures of whales and seals in just a minute. The Oregon coast is a place of wonderment. Take a drive along Highway 101 and you'll see gorgeous vistas. You can watch ocean waves gliding towards shore and admire the dunes, forests, lakes, and rivers. It's a place where you can just wander and lose yourself in all that surrounds you. Out here, the main attraction is nature. The vast ocean seascapes, sea creatures like starfish and sea anemones in tide pools, and jellyfish slowly undulating in the harbors alongside schools of small fish. You'll see seagulls and pelicans flying past you. And maybe witness a gull gulping down a whole crab. Or you might be lucky enough to see deer grazing on the beach. Rising above the beaches are rocky headlands studded with an occasional lighthouse and stippled with trees. It's a place always in motion. The wind, the waves, the ebb and flow of the tide, and the slithering creeks and rivers flowing into the Pacific. The biggest reason people come here, of course, is to see the ocean. I can lose myself for hours watching thundering waves crash onto rocks and swells collide with each other. Or immerse my attention to watching the perfect tubes form as they roll alongside the beach. And if you're adventurous enough to go off the beaten path and make your own discoveries, you might even find a waterfall pouring into the sea. And there's fresh seafood if you like that kind of thing. You might try catching your own, or you could sit down at a local restaurant and feast on what someone else caught for you. It's also a place of fun. It doesn't matter who you are, the coast just might bring out your inner child. When you go coastal, you might notice all the artistic touches and humorous notes sprinkled around the region. The ocean seems to bring out a joy in people. Or your dog. Out here, it's a good time for everyone. You might feel inclined to take off your shoes and wade in the cool Pacific surf. One can wander the beaches, surf the waves, or go boating. If someone isn't at work, they might have gone crabbing or fishing. Nice to see that some people have their priorities right. The forest inland from the sea can seem mysterious, eerie, or downright spooky, especially when the fog rolls in and lends a dark and somewhat haunting appearance. This is where I would park for the night, as it's become very difficult to find any place to boondock along the coast. Although Oregon is a land of big stumps and huge clear-cuts, and 90% of all old-growth forests have been chopped down, you might still be able to find the occasional giant tree. Look at all the moss growing on everything, and you can get an idea of how much rain falls here. Last time I was here at this beach, there was a deer that came bolting down this mountain as if something were chasing it. Maybe some dogs, or I don't know what, but it just came bolting down and it ran into the ocean and it swam about a half mile out, and then it started veering back toward shore. So why that was going on, I don't know. And there was somebody else with me at the time, a girlfriend, and we were standing right here and we saw it literally run right past us. So it was a pretty amazing event. And you know, maybe a mountain lion? I don't think they're down by the beach, but something was definitely scaring it for it to go way off into the ocean like that. I decided to take a little walk along the shoreline. That's Cape Arago back there. So I've come through the rocks, and that's kind of how I earned the name Rockhopper when I was in New Zealand. If you find yourself stranded along the coastline, well, it's not all bad news. You can eat most types of seaweed. They'll give you some nutrients, vitamins, whatnot. They're pretty salty. Well, maybe a little chewy at times too. You can also eat limpets, but they're pretty small, and they're best tenderized and cooked up. You know, you boil them if you had any way to cook them. So there's just a couple of survival tips if you happen to find yourself on the coast and need something to eat. You could also eat little crabs like this one if you can catch them. Of course, they're pretty crunchy if you're going to eat them raw, and these are just little guys, so there's not much meat in them, but they might keep you alive for a while. Interestingly enough, sea anemone, as shown here, is also edible, but you have to know how to prepare it. I've never tried preparing it myself, but I did have, I believe they were from the Taloa Band of Indians in Northern California. They prepared it and they called it duma. This is some sea palms here, and it's pretty bruised up and battered from the surf. They grow on the rocks at the surf line, and they do get battered around by the tide quite a bit by the waves, and you can eat them. You can chop these up into little rings and boil them up and cook them. And they are kind of salty and chewy, but you could survive on them if you had to. You can see little heads, that's why they got the name sea palms. They look like miniature palm trees. So let me show you some pictures of the seals, the whales. Managed to get the tail of the whale coming out of the ocean. That was a pretty lucky shot. Then that bubble ring when they say here from that. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't that? Yep, there goes one right now.
About 10 o'clock.
Yeah. That's big. There goes another.
Grab my other ones,
right
baby.
there.
There we go.
Babe, grab my other ones.
Some of that. Up this shale or pulpit down there. Let me say close to that.
Sales and shit?
Yeah, use the bill. No,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you should. I want to do it. I love it. There was one year that I just. Yeah, he's playing around there.
Well, he's not going to do a full, for him to go into a full dive to get down to the bottom. I don't think he has to, it's so deep.
I know. Just stay. I'm trying to get pictures here. Oh, that was a good one.
That'd be once in a while. If it made it.
Oh, right there.
There must be two out there.
Must be.
Oh, there it is.
Carol! Yay!
That's a good one.
Shore Acres Gardens just down the road, and it's a pretty place to come and have a nice little stroll. The gardens are located within Shore Acres State Park, and as you can see, it's a pretty place to come and wander around for a bit if you care to do so. People aren't the only ones who like coming to the park. Another peek at the botanical gardens. Unfortunately, this is what they're doing to a lot of the Oregon coastline, is they're making you pay a fee just to park. That's in addition to the restrictions they've already imposed, like no fires, no camping, day use only. Though it's disappointing to see the pay-per-view attitude of the state infiltrating what was once a land of free visitation, the coastline will always be a place of beauty where one's soul can be rejuvenated. I have to admit, I do tire of the crowds, the tourists, the traffic, the expense of everything, and the difficulty of finding any place to park overnight without worry of someone knocking on my window in the darkness. But sometimes there are those moments, like when I see marine life in abundance, or a stunning sunset at the end of the day, and I think there's no better place to be. No better place!